The Soft Revolution. Nobody told you it was yours to start. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival and reclaim the softness, rest, and joy we deserve. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And today I want to share something with you that shifted everything for me. I recently had the privilege of sitting down with C.Joi Adams Sanchez, an artist, mother, and truth teller who has lived more lives in one lifetime than most of us could imagine. From homelessness to traveling the world as a working artist, from trauma to raising two brilliant, self assured children who love themselves in ways she's only recently learned. C.Joy is living proof that you can start over, that you can choose yourself, and that wholeness isn't a luxury. It's your birthright. She's not just making art, she's making the world believe that transformation is possible for anyone willing to bet on themselves. And what she shared with me during our conversation isn't just inspiring, it's necessary. So let's dive in. Here's what I need you to hear first. You possess immense power within yourself: the power to choose love, the power to choose yourself, the power to choose a different path at any moment in your life. And I know that sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster in a dentist's office. But stay with me, because this isn't about being special or exceptional. This is about refusing to accept less than you deserve. C. Joy told me something that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said, the power to transform your life doesn't come from external validation or perfect circumstances. It comes from an internal decision to bet on yourself. When she made the choice to move from survival to living, she activated something that exists in every single person listening right during now. That's the real message. The power was always there. You've just been convinced it wasn't. Now, let me tell you about three women who decided they weren't going to be convinced anymore. Three women who took that power and used it to transform not just their own lives, but entire institutions. First, there's Keisha Modica. She's the head of inclusion and diversity for Apple Retail. Before that, she was vice president and head of equality and belonging at Gap. And here's what's important about Keisha's story: she didn't stumble into these roles, she chose them deliberately. She built a career centered on reconnecting people to belonging and to their full selves within corporate spaces, spaces that have historically been transactional, spaces that have treated employees like interchangeable parts. Keisha looked at that and said, no, not on my watch. She faced corporate resistance. She navigated the tendency to treat diversity and inclusion as a checkbox rather than a core value. She had to challenge the systemic separation of employee well being from business strategy. And instead of accepting the status quo, she designed comprehensive programs that centered employee, customer, and community belonging. She positioned inclusion not as a compliance issue, but as essential to the business itself. And you know what happened? Gap made concrete commitments to diversity and inclusion by 2025. Apple expanded her work across a global retail footprint. Thousands of employees now experience workplaces where they can show up whole. Keisha's work ripples through an industry that employs millions. She's proving that businesses can thrive when they refuse separation, when they let people be whole. Then there's Joy Bass, Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Dollar General. 20 years of experience in retail and operations, 20 years of deliberately choosing roles that center human dignity and belonging. Her career spans Cargill, Target, and now Dollar General. And at every stop, she's invested her power in reconnecting people to each other and to their sense of belonging within work. Now, Dollar General is one of America's largest retail corporations. It's an industry known for high turnover, low wages, and environments where employees are often treated like they don't matter. Joy looked at that and said, "Just, we're going to do this differently." She created systems and cultures where safety, respect, and connection aren't luxuries, they're foundational. She recognized what C. Joy knows deeply, that people thrive when they're not fragmented, when they're allowed to exist as whole humans rather than fractured versions of themselves designed to fit corporate molds. And the impact? Hundreds of thousands of employees and their families. Joy's work extends beyond the workplace, too. She serves on the board of Longview Queens United and advises North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. She understands that workplace transformation is inseparable from community healing. When you change how people experience work, you change how they experience life, you change what they believe is possible for themselves and for their children. And then there's Crystal Files, VP of Enterprise Marketing Solutions at American Family Insurance. Crystal was taught from a young age the importance of advocating for herself and others. And instead of compartmentalizing that value, instead of leaving it at the door when she went to work, she built a career where advocacy for diversity, inclusion, and belonging is central. She refused the separation between her personal values and her professional role. And that choice required betting on herself. It required believing she deserved to work in alignment with her purpose. Crystal faced the challenge of moving diversity and equity from the margins to the center of a major insurance corporation strategy. She had to prove that the difficult work of building and advancing a diverse workforce wasn't a distraction from business, it was fundamental to it. So she took on multiple strategic initiatives simultaneously. She defined American Family's enterprise purpose. She leveraged the company's business as a platform for good. She directly influenced hiring, retention, and development policies to reflect workforce diversity. Her approach integrates purpose with power. She's not just advocating for change, she's positioned to make it. And the result? American Family Insurance now has enterprise wide commitment to diversity and inclusion led from the VP level. Crystal has influenced company policies that affect thousands of employees. She's created structural change, not just cultural conversation. She once said, "Aligning my passions with my purpose has always been important, and that's the whole point." She refused to separate who she was from what she did, and she transformed an institution from within. Now, here's what Keisha, Joy, and Crystal all have in common: they didn't wait for permission, they didn't wait for the perfect moment, they didn't wait until they felt ready. They made a decision, they chose wholeness, they chose to use their power to undo separation, and they refused to accept a fractured existence. And that brings me to the second thing C. Joy wants you to remember. The risk of being your full, authentic self is infinitely worth the payoff. Society has convinced us that conformity equals safety, that authenticity is a luxury we can't afford, that we need to shrink ourselves, edit ourselves, fracture ourselves to fit into spaces that were never designed for our wholeness. But C. Joy has lived the opposite truth. From homelessness to traveling the world performing her art, from trauma to raising confident, self loving children, every transformation happened when she chose to show up as her whole self rather than a fractured version designed to appease others. And here's what she told me. She said, Scott, I'm not rich and famous, but I am successful and wealthy beyond measure. We are powerful beyond measure. All it takes is deciding to choose love intentionally with ourselves and others, even when it is hard, even when it is hard, because it will be hard. Choosing yourself is hard. Setting boundaries is hard. Saying no without guilt is hard. Resting without explanation is hard. But you know what's harder? Spending your entire life performing a version of yourself that isn't real, carrying a cape you never asked for, exhausting yourself to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. You are carrying fractured versions of yourself right now, pieces you've hidden to make other people comfortable, dreams you've deferred because they felt too risky, boundaries you've refused to set because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. And C.Joy is giving you permission to integrate those pieces back together, to stop apologizing for your own existence, to believe that you deserve to live, not merely survive. And that leads me to the third thing. Separation is the root of our collective suffering, and reconnection to ourselves, to each other, to something greater is the antidote. Joy identified something profound during our conversation. She said we've been separated from the land, from community, from our divine selves, and from the understanding that we deserve to thrive, not merely survive. This separation has been weaponized to keep people exhausted, compliant, and competing against each other. Her journey back to wholeness is an act of resistance and reclamation. And when you choose yourself, you're not being selfish. You're participating in the healing of a fractured world. Think about Keisha, Joy, and Crystal again. Their work isn't just about corporate policies or diversity metrics, it's about reconnection. It's about creating spaces where people don't have to fragment themselves to belong, where they can bring their whole selves to work, where dignity and respect aren't luxuries but foundational. They're undoing separation at scale. And that's revolutionary. C. Joy told me, I'm always amazed at what my life became once I started to truly and unconditionally love myself. The only constant in this life is change, so we can start over and over again at any point in life. It sounds cliche and it's hard as hell, but it is possible to become a new version of yourself. Start over at any point in any area of your life. You don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom. You don't have to wait until everything falls apart. You can decide right now, today, that you're done accepting less than you deserve. You can decide that you're going to choose wholeness instead of fragmentation. You can decide that you're going to bet on yourself. So here's what I want you to do. Identify one area of your life where you've accepted separation, where you fractured yourself to fit someone else's expectations, and make one decision to choose wholeness instead. Maybe that looks like pursuing work that aligns with your values, even if it feels risky. Maybe it's setting a boundary that honors your full self, even if it disappoints others. Maybe it's investing time in a passion or a dream you've deferred. Maybe it's having a conversation with someone you've been keeping at a distance. Maybe it's starting over in an area of your life where you've accepted less than you deserve. The action doesn't have to be massive, it's about the decision. The moment you refuse to be convinced that you deserve anything less than wholeness, that's where transformation begins. C. Joy said something else that I can't stop thinking about. She said, I am grateful for the knowledge that this is a journey and not a race. We all end up returning to God. While we are here, we can create anything we believe is possible. This is a journey, not a race. You don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start. You just have to choose. You just have to believe that wholeness is possible for you because it is. Keisha Monica believed it. Joy Bass believed it. Crystal Files believed it. C.Joi Adams Sanchez believed it. And now it's your turn. You are powerful beyond measure. You possess the power to choose love, to choose yourself, to choose a different path at any moment. The risk of being your full, authentic self is infinitely worth the payoff. And separation is not your destiny, reconnection is. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be whole. Stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to rest, to set boundaries, to choose yourself. Stop carrying capes that were never yours to wear in the first place. Start the soft revolution, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you feel ready. Today, right Now, in this moment, drop the cape, set the boundary, say the no, take the rest. Choose yourself, not because you're selfish, but because your wholeness is revolutionary. Because when you choose yourself, you give everyone around you permission to do the same. Because the world doesn't need more fractured people trying to hold it together. The world needs whole people who know their worth. This is your sacred pause. This is your permission slip. This is your moment to reclaim the power that was always yours. Now go choose yourself and watch what happens when you finally do.